December 22nd, 2025, Melbourne, Australia. The grand ballroom of the Marriott on Collins Street had been transformed into a winter wonderland. Even though Melbourne's December air outside was warm and thick with summer humidity, string lights cascaded from the ceiling like frozen rain, and the long banquet tables were dressed in deep red and gold, each centerpiece a small forest of pine cones and white candles. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? The annual Christmas dinner for Hartwell and Associates was the event of the year. The one night when 300 employees of the city's most prestigious consulting firm gathered under one roof to celebrate another year of hard work. And at the head of it all, as always, was Diana Hartwell. Diana was 44 years old, the founder and CEO of the firm, a woman who had built her empire from a single rented desk in a Fitzroy co-working space. 20 years ago, people who worked for her described her as brilliant, demanding, and impossible to read. She wore her authority like a second skin, spoke in measured sentences, and never let anyone see her softer side if they believed she had one at all. Tonight she arrived in a charcoal blazer and a cream blouse, her dark hair pulled back with precision, her 8-year-old daughter Lily walking quietly beside her. Lily had been deaf since birth. She had her mother's dark eyes and her father's gentle face. Though her father had been gone from their lives for 3 years now, a loss Diana never spoke about. Lily wore a red velvet dress and small pearl earrings, and she moved through the glittering crowd like a small boat navigating an unfamiliar sea, her eyes wide and watchful, her hands resting at her sides. Diana had brought her because the babysitter had cancelled that afternoon and there was no other option. She had not brought her because she wanted Lily to feel included. That thought sat heavy in Diana's chest as they found their assigned seats near the center of the ballroom. She knew what these events were like for Lily. She knew the way her daughter's eyes would scan the room and find no one looking back at her with understanding, no one who could bridge the silence. Diana could sign at a basic level, enough to communicate the essentials at home. But in a room full of laughter and conversation and clinking glasses, sign language felt like a whisper in a thunderstorm. She settled Lily into her chair, squeezed her small hand once, and then the evening swallowed Diana. Whole colleagues approaching with handshakes and updates, the noise rising around them like water. Lily sat beside her mother and watched the room. She watched the way mouths moved and laughter erupted without sound reaching her. She watched the waitstaff glide between tables with practiced elegance. She watched the children of other employees chase each other near the dessert table, their mouths open in shouts she could not hear. She was not sad exactly. She had lived her whole life this way. But there was a particular kind of loneliness in a room, full of people who were not unkind, but simply unreachable. And Lily understood that loneliness the way only a child who has lived it fully can. It was a man named James who first noticed her. James Calloway was 38, a mid-level project manager in the firm's infrastructure division, a man who most people at the office knew as reliable, quiet, and good at his job without being spectacular at anything that earned attention. He had come alone tonight, as he often did to work events, because he was a single father and his daughter Sophie had a sleepover at a friend's house. Sophie was 6 and profoundly deaf, and James had spent the past 4 years learning Australian Sign Language with the same dedication he gave to everything that mattered to him. He had become fluent not out of obligation, but out of love, the pure and uncomplicated love of a father who wanted to live fully inside his daughter's world. He spotted Lily because he recognized the particular stillness of a deaf child in a hearing crowd. It was something in the posture, something in the careful way her eyes moved, cataloging the world in the absence of sound. James excused himself from his table, walked over, and crouched down to Lily's eye level, so that his face was visible and his hands were in front of him. He signed, "Hello, my name is James. My daughter is deaf too. Her name is Sophie. What is your name?" Lily's face did not change immediately. Children who are accustomed to a world that rarely makes the effort are not quick to trust the gesture. She looked at his hands with the focused attention of someone checking whether the sign was real or approximate, whether this adult actually knew what he was doing or was performing a token kindness with the wrong grammar. Then she signed back. "My name is Lily. How old is Sophie?" James smiled and answered, 6. She loves dinosaurs and swimming. And just like that, the conversation opened. Diana had been mid-sentence with her regional director when she glanced sideways and stopped speaking entirely. The regional director followed her gaze and then stepped back instinctively, sensing that something more important was happening. Diana watched James and Lily signing back and forth, watched her daughter's face transform from that careful blankness into something luminous. Lily laughed, a real laugh, the kind that comes from the body before the mind can check it, and signed something that made James laugh too, his hands moving in response, with the ease of someone for whom this was not performance, but conversation. Diana felt something loosen in her chest that she had not known was tight. She watched a stranger give her daughter 20 minutes of full, fluent, unhurried presence, and she felt the particular grief and gratitude of a parent who realizes their child has been lonelier than she fully understood. She walked over when there was a pause. James stood and introduced himself simply, without any of the self-consciousness people sometimes displayed when they were caught doing something kind. Diana signed to Lily, "Is this man nice?" Lily signed back, "Yes, he knows everything." Diana laughed for the first time all evening. She sat down and the three of them talked, Diana bridging the gaps where her signing was uncertain and James patient with every hesitation. He told her about Sophie, about the ASL classes he had taken, about the deaf community playgroup in Brunswick, where the children met on Saturday mornings. He wrote down the details on a paper napkin without being asked. By the time the dessert course arrived, Lily was showing James a story she had been writing in a notebook. She kept in her small holiday bag, signing the plot to him with dramatic expressions, her hands painting the scenes. James responded with the full attention of someone who understood that a child sharing their story is offering something precious and irreplaceable. Diana watched and understood, perhaps for the first time with real clarity, that leadership was not the thing she had spent 20 years perfecting. Leadership was this, seeing the person in the room who needed to be seen and walking toward them without waiting to be asked. The dinner ended the way all dinners do, with the gradual dispersal of people back into their ordinary lives. James said goodbye to Lily with a proper signed farewell and gave Diana his card in case she ever wanted to connect. Sophie and Lily for a play date. Lily watched him walk away and then turned to her mother and signed, "He was really good." Diana signed back, "Yes, he was." On the drive home through Melbourne's warm summer night, the city lights sliding past the windows, Lily fell asleep in the back seat with her notebook clutched to her chest. Diana drove and thought about the napkin in her purse, about the playgroup in Brunswick, about 20 minutes of sign language that had done more for her. Water than 300 expensive candles and a catered ballroom ever could. She thought about James Calloway, mid-level project manager, and made a quiet decision that had nothing to do with promotions or performance reviews, but everything to do with the kind of workplace and the kind of person she still had time to become. If this story moved you, please support Kindness True Stories. Like this story, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story that reminds you what humanity looks like at its best.